Hare Krishna, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Um, Again, I don't know if I am live. I have to check. Sorry. Okay. Unfortunately, I never know. Yep. Okay. So today we are continuing with Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapters. Chapter 3. No, chapter 4. So we are actually talking about the most confidential topics of Bhakti Yoga, and that is the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and what were his confidential reasons why he appeared in this world around 500 years ago. So this is actually, the whole chapter is like a mystical revelation of who Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually is. And I have a feeling like we're going slowly through this chapter, but we're building up to understand, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to taste the highest rasa, the Madhurya rasa, and that's the most complicated and the most difficult rasa to understand, especially if you are just starting to practice Bhakti Yoga, because it resembles relationships that people have between partners here in the material world, but that's not the same. And the whole chapter actually explains why it is not the same. So also, if you have questions regarding these topics, you're most welcome to ask. I will now share my screen so we can see on which text we stopped last time. So I share. Thank you. So last time we were reading text 33, and actually we were reading Manashiksha of Raghunadas Goswami, just to know in which way the devotees who practice Bhakti Yoga, how they meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because here we're going to talk about spontaneous love, and we're going to talk about abandoning all rituals of religiosity and fruitive activity, which many people perform. So we have to understand actually what that means. So the basis of the Bhakti Yoga is that we should not perform karma, in the sense that we perform certain activities to gain pious karma, and we should also not perform activities which are not beneficial for us, which will give us a bad karma. So either way, we should not perform activities in the sense of karma and in the sense that it brings some results for us. What we should do is perform activities for the satisfaction of Krishna. And that is only possible for us to do if our meditation throughout the day is on Krishna and on his pleasure. And actually, if we have this meditation on Krishna and on his pleasure, that's actually Bhakti Yoga. So this is a little bit in short, the end of what we were talking about. The topic is broad. We will probably repeat some things that were mentioned, but now we'll just continue through the texts. There are more than 200 verses in this chapter. So, and I find the verses quite important if we want to really understand who Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. Each verse is significant and it points out at something. So yes, maybe some other chapters we will go through very quickly, but this one is really, really important. And it talks about the most exalted notions in Bhakti Yoga. So therefore, it should be given time. And also, we should know that we can give a lecture to each of these verses, like a single lecture. But of course, we don't have time for that. But I will try to do my best. So before we start, we will chant a prayer for auspiciousness. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So to continue, text 34. So Krishna manifests his eternal human-like form and performs his pastimes to show mercy to the devotees. Having heard such pastimes, one should engage in service of him. So the whole point is of the chapter 3 and the chapter 4 of Adi Lila is to explain what is the reason for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who is actually Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So since we have established that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is no different from Krishna, many times throughout the chapter you will see how the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or the reasons behind the manifestation of pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are compared to the pastimes of Lord Krishna. So first, it is explained why Krishna appears in this material world. What is the purpose of it? What are the external reasons for his appearance, and what are the confidential or internal reasons? So when Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami establishes that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he then compares it or also concludes how, in the similar way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears, and then he states which are the reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here, he refers again to Krishna, how he manifests his eternal human-like form and performs his pastimes to show mercy to his devotees. We have already mentioned several of times that Lord Krishna appears to annihilate the demons and to deliver the pious and to establish the principles of religion. Krishna's human-like pastimes are the most attractive pastimes for us because we can refer to them because we possess this human form of life. And also there is a fact that human form was made according to the form of the Lord. So in that sense, it's also very much connected to the Lord and very much attracted to the conditioned living entities. So he appears to show mercy to the devotees because he fulfills their desires. Devotees have been practicing bhakti yoga and meditating on Krishna for a certain period of time, and they have developed certain desires in which they want to establish their relationship with Krishna. So Krishna, when he descends in his form as Krishna, which happened 5,000 years ago at the time when, and that covers the period when the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So he comes to fulfill their desires because when he descends, he actually performs his pastimes, he fulfills their desires of meditation, and also he engages in a personal relationship with these devotees. So in that sense, he shows mercy to them. And also through performing these pastimes, he attracts other living entities to also develop desires to associate with him. And by the way, because he's here, he also eliminates the demons who are burden of the earth, because the earth felt the burden of all these demoniac personalities. So she asked the demigods, especially Lord Brahma, to help her. And the demigods and Lord Brahma approached Kshiradakashaya Vishnu at the ocean, in front of the ocean of milk, where they spoke certain prayers to him, asking him to descend and to help them. So I don't know how to say perfectly how to express myself, but he wanted to do, he wanted to cover all these goals in one go. So that's what Krishna wanted to do. Okay. Text 35. So here Krishnadas Kaviraj just explains how, because Krishna comes and he gives mercy to the devotees, and he's so attractive in his human-like pastimes that we should definitely worship him because he will fulfill all our desires. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport how this imperative that it is a must to worship the Lord in this form and meditating on his pastimes is applicable to pure devotees. So the pure devotees who have already developed the taste to meditate on Krishna, to have desires to associate with Krishna in this way, for them it's imperative, because by doing all, by worshiping the Lord in this way, they will fulfill their desires. But then Srila Prabhupada explains how neophytes, which is us, will be also able to understand these affairs only after being elevated by regulated devotional service under the expert guidance of the spiritual master. So, as we said from the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita itself begins in that way, it begins with the chapter that deals with the topic of spiritual masters. What we must do if we want to advance in the culture of Bhakti Yoga and in performing spiritual activities is to approach the spiritual master. So we have to take shelter of someone who is advanced to give us knowledge about Krishna and blessings, and to give us the method by which we can then practice Bhakti Yoga and develop our relationship with Krishna. And only then, so when we take this expert guidance of the spiritual master, and when we follow the path of Bhakti Yoga, then we will be able to understand and hear of the love affairs of Radha and Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada states that as long as one is in material conditioned life, strict discipline is required in the matter of moral and immoral activities. This actually means that when we perform spiritual activities and when we want to live a spiritual life, we will abide by certain rules and we will avoid certain activities. So this is what Srila Prabhupada means by moral and immoral activities. So for example, we will practice the principle of ahimsa. We will not eat meat or fish or eggs. We will not get intoxicated because we want to have clean and pure consciousness, and so on. So he says that the absolute world is transcendental and free from such distinctions because the inevitability is not possible. But in this material world, the sexual appetite necessitates distinction between moral and immoral conduct. There are no sexual activities in the spiritual world. The transactions between the lover and beloved in the spiritual world are pure transcendental love and unadulterated bliss. So when Srila Prabhupada talks about sexual appetite, he talks about lust, because lust is not love. Lust means to fulfill the needs of your senses, to get sense gratification, to get enjoyment for your own senses. But when we talk about spiritual love, we talk about love that is not selfish, that only thinks of the object of love, and that is Krishna. So everything that is done in spiritual dimensions, in the spiritual love, is done for the benefit of Krishna. But Krishna is a person, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who responds. And therefore, when we meditate on the object of our love, and when we dedicate all our activities to the object of our love, and when we actually forget about ourselves, we become the most happy because Krishna reciprocates. And it will be explained in the following verses in which way he reciprocates. And he will give the examples of the best servitors of Krishna, how they actually enjoy in the company of Krishna, and how they benefit from not being selfish in their affairs towards Krishna. Yeah. So text 36 and 37. Just as these desires are the fundamental reason for Krishna's appearance, whereas destroying the demons is only an incidental necessity. So for Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, promulgating the Dharma of the age is incidental. So as I mentioned at the beginning of my lecture, that this reason that why the Lord appears, why Krishna appears to eliminate the demons, is just a secondary reason why he appears. The primary reason why he appears is to enjoy. So it's always like that. So it's like enjoyment of Krishna, because he's the supreme enjoyer. So he comes here to enjoy, and perform his pastimes. And secondary, he comes to eliminate the demons. So in the same way, even though it seems that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here and incarnated 500 years ago to establish the religious principles of this age of Kali, which is chanting the holy names of the Lord, he came also to fulfill some other reasons. And of these reasons we will talk about. There are 3 confidential reasons why he appeared. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, when he wants to explain these reasons, he wants to build up to explain what actually is behind the reasons for his appearance. Why did he desire to appear actually and fulfill these desires? So he will build up on that, and then he's going to talk about actually what are these confidential desires that Krishna had, for which he appeared as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this age of Kali. Text 38. When the Lord desired to appear for another reason, the time for promulgating the religion of the age also arose. So whenever he actually has some intimate desire to fulfill, it always is connected to some external desire for which he has to appear. In this way, in this example, he appears because Advaita Acharya asked him to appear so that he can propagate the chanting of the holy names, which will actually deliver many conditioned living entities in this age of Kali. And also it was Krishna's desire to appear and to freely distribute love of Godhead, prema, in the relationship of conjugal love, which is the highest. So in this age of Kali, we're getting the highest in the most easiest way, just by chanting. But we are so fallen, and that we find it difficult to concentrate on the chanting of the holy name. And we are living in an age in which we are constantly disturbed. And even though we are given the easiest method for us in our everyday life, this method can be very difficult. But if we continue, we will definitely achieve success. That is actually the promise of the whole parampara and Srila Prabhupada and so on. So text 39. Thus with 2 intentions, the Lord appeared with his devotees and tasted the nectar of prema with the congregational chanting of the holy name. So we already explained how the Lord appeared with his devotees. So in the previous ages, whenever the Lord incarnated, he incarnated to annihilate the demons by his weapons. And here his weapons are his devotees. And these devotees, they propagate the chanting of the holy names of the Lord along with him. And therefore, they are eliminating the demoniac propensities the conditioned souls have in this age of Kali. So these are the weapons of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by this preaching and by this sharing of Bhakti Yoga and by sharing about the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, everyone can taste the nectar of prema, if of course they chant without offenses. Text 40. Thus he spread kirtana even among the untouchables. He wove a wreath of the holy name and prema with which he garlanded the entire material world. So, as mentioned, he gave it to everyone. So when Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami talks about untouchables, he mentions them just to show how actually to chant the holy name of the Lord is so merciful that there's no qualification required for one to chant the holy name of the Lord. So anyone can do it. Even if you are the lowest of the low, you can get the highest of the high. So that's quite amazing. Text 41. In this way, assuming the sentiments of a devotee, he preached devotional service while practicing it himself. So this is an explanation how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's a hidden incarnation because he comes disguised as a devotee, because he wants to taste the sentiments of a devotee. And we will further on explain which devotee. And he wants to preach devotional service, and he preaches devotional service by practicing it himself. So the principle of an acharya, which means in Sanskrit, the one who teaches by an example, is prominent in Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So whenever the Lord comes to teach the world about the religious principles, he always practices the religious principles himself. Even as Lord Krishna, when he incarnated 5,000 years ago, he was following all the rules and regulations which were required for the one who was practicing religious principles. And he was always showing by an example of how a person should act, especially when he was in Dwarka. Yeah, it's beautifully said here by Srila Prabhupada that when Rupa Goswami met Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu at Prayag, Allahabad, he offered his respectful obeisances by submitting that Lord Chaitanya was more magnanimous than any other avatar of Krishna because he was distributing love of Krishna. So this is the prayer that actually we recite usually every day. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namo Guratisha Namaha. So all glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he's the best personality, because he's freely distributing the love of Godhead to everyone else. So that's why he's so great, because for free he gives the highest. So that was the glorification that Rupa Goswami gave to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he saw him. He said that his mission was to enhance love of Godhead. In the human form of life, the highest achievement is to attain the platform of love of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya did not invent a system of religion, as people sometimes assume. Religious systems are meant to show the existence of God, who is then generally approached as the cosmic order supplier. But Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental mission is to distribute love of Godhead to everyone. Anyone who accepts God as the Supreme can take to the process of chanting Hare Krishna and become a lover of God. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya is the most magnanimous. This munificent broadcasting of devotional service is possible only for Krishna himself. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. So the one who can propagate the religious principles is only God. So God is the only one who can give religious principles. So if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give freely love of God and teach by an example how to achieve it, then he can only be God. And therefore, he is Krishna. And the Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, the source of all the incarnations, the cause of all causes. So he is the original personality of Godhead, from whom everything else and everyone else emanates. So it is said by Srila Prabhupada that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has taught the philosophy of surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who has surrendered to the Supreme can make further progress by learning to love him. So Krishna, he teaches us in the Bhagavad Gita that we should surrender. And he explains everything, how we are spirit souls and what are the activities and that we have to perform and how to perform these activities, how to perform this yoga. What is this world? What are these three gunas of material nature that the world is made of? How does it function? So basically, it explains to us how to live in this world. And the conclusion of all is that if you want to get out of this material world, if you want to stop this conditioning life, you have to surrender to me. So that's what Krishna says. Surrender unto me and I will deliver you from all these sinful reactions. Do not fear. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us how to surrender to the Lord and how to achieve the highest relationship with him and how to develop pure love for him. So that is why he accepted the role of a devotee. It is important also to read this part of the purport where Srila Prabhupada says that Swarupa Damodar Goswami, so Swarupa Damodar Goswami, he was a secretary of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and because he was engaged in the most intimate service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he knew some confidential things about him. So if we want to find out confidential truths about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the authority to whom to whom we have to ask these questions is Swarup Damodar Goswami, and then it will be explained further on in the purport, or maybe even in this purport, that who is actually Swarup Damodar Goswami, because we have to understand that these personalities that this whole Chaitanya Charitamrita is going to talk about are not ordinary personalities. These are spiritual, pure devotees who descended to this material world to help Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his mission of distributing the holy names of the Lord. They're special, they're pure devotees, they're associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Swarup Damodar Goswami has described Lord Chaitanya as Krishna himself with the attitude of Radharani. So he's the one who knows actually who's Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he revealed this to the world through the disciplic succession, so through all these saints who are delivering the same message. So he's a combination of Radha and Krishna. The intention of Lord Chaitanya is to taste Krishna's sweetness in transcendental love. He does not care to think of himself as Krishna because he wants the position of Radharani. We should remember this. A class, and that's so this is like the position of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he is revealing this to us. So Srila Prabhupada explains this in the purport, and then later on in the verses which are given by Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he will also explain it in which way and why and how he developed this mood. So in which way Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is manifesting this mood of Srimati Radharani. So Lord Chaitanya has accepted the role of Radharani, and we should support that position. And it is explained how the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they support him in his mood that he's manifesting. So they are trying to enhance the feelings that Radharani has towards Krishna, and by enhancing it through reciting certain prayers to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they're helping him to be in that mood and to manifest devotional ecstasies, by which he then gives an example of the highest relationship achievable towards God. So text 42. 4 kinds of devotees are the receptacles of the 4 kinds of mellows in love of God, namely servitude, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. So again, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami repeats himself, like these are the highest relationships. And these highest relationships of mellows of love of God can be found in the most perfect way manifested in Vrindavan. And this is like the relationships for which we are aiming for. So, and it is explained how each kind of devotee feels that his sentiment is the most excellent, and thus, in that mood, he tastes great happiness with Lord Krishna. So there is no competition in the spiritual world. Everyone thinks that his relationship with the Lord is the best. So if someone is a servant of the Lord, I don't know, he waves with chamara, and he wants to cool the face of the Lord. He thinks that this relationship of service that he has towards the Lord is the most perfect relationship that he can have, and he feels the most happiness in it. And he's not interested in other relationships because he's most attracted to this one. So in the same way, if someone is relishing friendship relationship with the Lord, that relationship is the best for him. And someone wants to relish a relationship of a gopi towards the Lord, then this relationship is the best relationship. So whatever the relationship is, the devotee will taste, sorry, I'm too hot, the taste the happiness, transcendental happiness in his relationship towards the Lord. Text 44. But if we compare the sentiments in an impartial mood, we find that the conjugal sentiment is superior to all others in sweetness. So conjugal sentiment means romantic, with I mean, it's not purely romantic. It's like a romantic relationship between a man and a female, but not based on lust. But because this relationship is the most intimate, therefore it is considered the most superior of all others. And Srila Prabhupada here explains, no one is higher or lower than anyone else in transcendental relationships with the Lord. So this hierarchy thing does not exist, even though there is a difference. But no one is better from the other. There's no competition like in the material world. So he says that for in the absolute realm, everything is equal. But although these relationships are absolute, there are also transcendental differences between them. Thus, the transcendental relationship or conjugal love is considered the highest perfection. So they're all equal, but some are considered more perfect than the others. And if someone doesn't have the one which is considered the most perfect, he's not unhappy because the person is perfectly happy in his relationship with the Supreme Lord. So that's something that we have to understand, and which sometimes, I'm speaking from my position, we fail to understand because this material world disturbs us so much, and very often we are not content we are not content with what we have. So we are usually always thinking that someone has something better than we do. So that's not the mentality of the spiritual world. It is anyway described in the Bhagavad Gita how a self-realized soul is self-content. It's the contentment comes from the person. The person does not seek pleasure, comfort, or whatever the person can seek from on the external platform. No, everything that is needed for us is actually coming from within. So in that sense, they're self-satisfied. Yes, that was the word I was looking for. So self-satisfied. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains how increasing love is experienced in various tastes, one above another. But that love which has the highest taste in the gradual succession of desire manifests itself in the form of conjugal love. So some of the verses which are put in Chaitanya Charitamrita, they come from various other books. And as we mentioned many times, this is so because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wants to prove that what he's saying has an authority. It's not like he invented something of his own. He's basing the sentences that he puts in Chaitanya Charitamrita on the revealed scriptures. So whenever he said something, he wants to make his argument stronger by putting the quotes from various scriptures. Verse 46, therefore I call it Madhura Rasa. It has two further divisions, namely wedded and unwedded love. So it means a relationship between husband and wife and relationship between lovers. There is a great increase of mellow in the unwedded conjugal mood. Such love is found nowhere but in Raja. So in Vaikuntha Lokas, so in the spiritual world, we have a lot of spiritual planets, which are called Vaikuntha Lokas. And the highest Loka or planet is Krishna Loka, so the planet on which Krishna resides. And in this Krishna Loka, there is a place which is called Vrindavan, and only in Vrindavan there is a conjugal mood. So mood between the lovers. So where Krishna actually enjoys with the gopis and Radharani. In Vaikuntha Lokas, he's only relishing the wedded conjugal mood, which means he's a king, he has his queen, he has his family, and that is how he lives. The verse 48 says that this mood is unbounded in the damsels of Raja, but among them it finds its perfection in Sri Radha. So what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is trying to do here, he's trying to tell us how there are certain rasas in the spiritual world. And the best of all rasas is the rasa in the conjugal mood, which means the rasa between the lovers. And this rasa is enjoyed by Krishna with the gopis. But among them, it finds its perfection in Sri Radha. So Srimati Radharani, she embodies the perfection of this kind of relationship. And this is important because further on it will be explained who is Radharani and what does she have to do with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it is explained in verse 49 that her pure mature love surpasses that of all others. Her love is the cause of Lord Krishna's tasting the sweetness of conjugal relationships. Verse 50. Therefore, Lord Gauranga, who is Sri Hari himself, accepted the sentiments of Radha and thus fulfilled his own desires. So this is what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wanted to say. He wanted to first explain which are the rasas, which is the highest rasa, and which person relishes the highest rasa, and that is Radharani. And therefore he said that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, he accepted the emotions of Radharani, and by accepting the emotions of Radharani, he fulfilled his desires. And now I will read which are his desires. So when Krishna, and everything is connected with pastimes of Lord Krishna, which he performed 5,000 years ago. So when Lord Krishna appeared here on earth, he appeared, as we said, to perform his pastimes, to fulfill the desires of his devotees who were meditating to have certain relationships on him, also to attract others to desire to have a relationship with him, to get purified and in the end liberated, and also to annihilate the demons, which was the secondary reason of his appearance, and to establish the principles of religion. So when he appeared as a child, he appears, and that will be explained again here in this chapter, he appears in Vrindavan. And in this Vrindavan, he actually enjoys all these pastimes that are here listed, like servitorship, friendship, parenthood, and conjugal love. Like this is for him like the highest enjoyment, and this highest form of enjoyment is relished in Vrindavan. And of the whole relationships that he relishes there and he enjoys the most with Radharani. And what it is perplexing him is that he sees that when Radharani serves him and when she does everything that she does for him, she relishes more happiness than he does. And we know that Lord Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the supreme enjoyer. So therefore, his desire is to enjoy. But he sees how Radharani, who is the object of his love and who gives him satisfaction, she enjoys even more than he does, because even though she serves him and she loves him in this way, and everything is actually done for Krishna, whatever is done for Krishna, she experiences this happiness because Krishna is happy even more than Krishna, who is experiencing this happiness. So he wants to see what kind of an enjoyment is that of Srimati Radharani. So therefore he wants to manifest as her. And in the previous lectures, I also mentioned how to understand who is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We should, of course, read Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially Canto 10, which describes this Krishna Lilas. But if we cannot read Srimad Bhagavatam, we can maybe read some summary or a Krishna book. Krishna book talks about the pastimes of Lord Krishna since he appeared on this earth until he left this earth. So here we can also understand like what was happening, like the dynamic in these relationships. So he describes the relationship that he has with his devotees. And as we many times said, that Lord Krishna wants to reciprocate these feelings that the devotees have towards him. He wants to give something to devotees, and we can see that as a personality, he's very generous and very loving towards his devotees. And we talked about one example when Advaita Acharya, when he was praying to the Lord to appear in this world, he found a verse, I forgot from which scripture, but which says that if someone worships the Lord by worshipping Shalagram Shila. And if it worships the Lord in the form of Shalagram Shila and offers the Lord with devotion a leaf of tulasi and a little bit of Ganges water, then the Lord is so obliged to this devotee because of this devotion and because of this offering that he sells himself to this devotee. So that's what Advaita Acharya thought when he was worshiping the Lord, because he wanted him to appear in this world. So the point of what I was saying is that devotion is not small, of course, but if we would look at it from some external perspective, we would say like, oh, well, it's such a small offering to the Lord. And in such a small offering, he gives so much. So what happens when someone really surrenders, really gives his heart to the Lord, really gives everything? So that is what the gopis do. And that's what Srimati Radharani does. She just cannot bear separation from the Lord. She curses the creator of this world, Lord Brahma, because he gave us eyelids, and when we close our eyes a little bit with our eyelids, then she thinks that that's not fair because she cannot look continuously into the form of Krishna, and that gives her great unhappiness. So this is how she's focused, this is how she's attached to Krishna. So when Krishna left Vrindavan to go to Mathura, the gopis were suffering. I mean, not only gopis, everyone in Vrindavan was suffering in separation for Krishna, but gopis especially, and especially Srimati Radharani. And therefore, Madhavananda Prabhu in his lectures, he talks about how Lord Krishna then promised Srimati Radharani that he will appear as Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu to pay up the debt that he made to her, because she was suffering so much in separation, and she had to be in separation for like a long time before she even saw Krishna and so on. So in order to pay the debt of such a separation, Lord Krishna promised to appear as Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and that will be the reason why he will take sannyas, and that will be and he will then in a way pay off the debt of Srimati Radharani, because he will be the one who will suffer in the mood of devotee, in the mood of her mood of separation from Krishna, the mood of Radharani. He will suffer from separation from Krishna. So he will experience what she experienced. So in this way, he will like pay off the debt. So that was one of the hidden reasons of why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually took sannyas in his incarnation as Lord Chaitanya. But there are these Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He mentions three reasons why Lord Krishna wanted to appear as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and these are that he wanted to understand the greatness of Radharani's love. So he saw her love, and he's the supreme controller, he's the supreme enjoyer. He's completely detached from everything, and he's under no one's control, but still he's controlled by Radharani. He's so attracted to Radharani. He says like, Radharani, I'm your disciple in the questions of love, and you are my guru. So he really wants to learn like, what is this love? So he wants to understand the greatness of Radharani's love. The second reason is that he wants to taste his own sweetness. So Lord Krishna is a supreme enjoyer. So he's also attractive to himself, because he's so attractive, the most attractive personality. So he sees how everyone is relishing his sweetness. So he also wants to relish the sweetness. And in order to relish his own sweetness, he has to appear as a devotee. And as a devotee, he can only have this experience. And therefore, he will appear in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And the third reason why he appears, and this is like the third desire that he has, that he wants to taste Radharani's happiness. So as I explained, when Radharani wants to please Krishna and make him happy, she becomes even more happy than he does. So he wants to relish that. He's fascinated by how that is possible. So So that's why he accepted the sentiments of Radha. And that is how he fulfilled his own desires. So verse 51. Lord Chaitanya is the shelter of the demigods, the goal of the Upanishads, to be all and end all of the great sages, the beautiful shelter of his devotees, and the essence of love of the lotus-eyed gopis. Will he again be object of my vision? So this verse is a beautiful prayer and glorification of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And all these verses, even though they're given to us as like evidences from the authoritative scriptures that what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is talking is like authoritative, but these are also verses for our own meditation, to little introspect and contemplate on who is actually Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how can I offer praise to him, how can I see him in the right light, and yeah, how can I establish my relationship with him. Text 52. Lord Krishna desired to taste the limitless nectarian mellows of the love of one of his multitude of loving damsels, Sri Radha, and so he has assumed the form of Lord Chaitanya. He has tasted that love while hiding his own dark complexion with her effulgent yellow color. May that Lord Chaitanya confer upon us his grace. So in this verse, we can see how, again, the identity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is established, and also it is explained why he had a golden complexion. So Srimati Radharani is the one who has a golden complexion, and this golden complexion comes from her mood of love towards Krishna. So when Lord Krishna accepted the mood of Radharani, his complexion also became golden. Text 53. To accept ecstatic love is the main reason he appeared and re-established the religious system for this age. I shall now explain that reason. Everyone please listen. So now he explains by his own words. Having first given hints about the verse describing the principal reason why the Lord appeared, now I shall manifest its full meaning. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they separated themselves internally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him, who has manifested himself with the sentiments and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. So it is very, very important to understand that when we talk about Srimati Radharani, we're not talking about an ordinary jiva, ordinary conditioned jiva, or ordinary gopi somewhere. We are talking about actually the supreme goddess. She is, God is one, but when he desired to enjoy, he became many. And there's a nice story that I found about how actually how Radharani appeared. Just to see. Yeah, here it is. So it is explained, and I'm reading this from the book about Srimati Radharani. So it's a very nice book. It talks about the pastimes of Srimati Radharani and about her position, who she is, and so on. So it is explained that regarding the appearance of two forms from one original form of the Lord, it is stated in Narada Pancharasa. So how this happened? It's quite nice. The two-handed form of Param Brahman in the form of a young cowherd boy, whose bodily color was like new clouds, was wandering in Rasa Mandala in Goloka Dhamma. Only one form of Ishvara divided into two forms. One part appeared as a female form, known as Vishnu Maya, or the internal potency of Krishna. The other part remained as himself, Vibhu Purusha, or the male form. He is independent and acts according to his own will. Everything happens as soon as he desires. He has a blue bodily effulgence, He is Saguna, having transcendental qualities, and Nirguna, without material qualities. There is no difference between Radha and Krishna. Krishna serves Radha, and Radha serves Krishna. Krishna is energetic, and Radha is energy. By this, it has been explained that Radha and Krishna are one in truth. Radha is constitutionally the energy of Krishna. She is his Swarupa Shakti, or natural energy, just as heat is the natural energy of fire. One cannot separate heat from fire. In the same way, one cannot separate Radha from Krishna. Energy and the energetic together is one object. There is no difference between them. In the same way, Shri Shri Radha Krishna is one and non-different truth. Para Brahman Krishna is Rasa Swarupa, means like the form of the like tastes of relationships. And he desires to enjoy rasa also. Shruti says sakamayate, he desires. But ekaki san naramate, he cannot enjoy alone. To enjoy through the exchange of mellows, there has to be more than one. That is why, even if he is one, he has manifested in many forms, from since time immemorial. Radha Krishna is originally one. Even though one and non-different, still that one Parabrahman has manifested in two forms, which have themselves manifested in many forms. Krishna has manifested in an unlimited number of Bhagavad Swarupas, and Radha has manifested in an unlimited number of Kanta Shakti Rupas. So basically, this is something that we now read, but this will be explained in details by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in this chapter. He will mention the expansions, he will mention who Radharani is and her expansions, and he will compare it to the expansions of Shri Krishna. If you followed the lectures, maybe you remember we talked about how Krishna manifests himself in this world. So in whichever way Krishna manifests himself, Radharani always comes with him, and her expansions or manifestations have the same names also and same characteristics, because she always accompanies Krishna. Krishna is never alone; he's always with Radharani. So I also wanted to say how there is a nice analogy, like how the Lord is one, but in order to enjoy, he manifested as a two, and then it is mentioned how there is Radha and Krishna, but they cannot be separated from each other, because God would not be God if you would remove Radharani from the equation or something like that, if we can say it like that. And then the analogy is given of fire, how you cannot take away the heat from the fire. Like the heat is just the constitutional part of the fire, and fire would make no sense without the heat. So in the same sense, Krishna makes no sense with Radharani. They are both together, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that is our philosophy. So, verse 56, Radha and Krishna are one and the same, but they have assumed two bodies. Thus they enjoy each other, tasting the mellows of love. So he just repeats what we have just now read from this book of Srimati Radharani. And this is something that Srila Prabhupada tries to explain, that these two transcendentalists, Radha and Krishna, are a puzzle to materialists. The above description of Radha and Krishna from the diary of Srila Swarupa Damodar Goswami, because he made this statement, and therefore because he is associate of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, his statement is authoritative because he witnessed it and he got the realization of it. So this description is from him, but one needs great spiritual insight to understand the mystery of these two personalities. One is enjoying in two. So this is the philosophy of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, simultaneous oneness and difference in everything that manifests regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is one, but he enjoys in two. So it's quite contradictory, but it's not. So that's the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how to reconcile something that appears contradictory. But when he reconciles it in this philosophy, I hope you're following me, it makes sense. So in that sense, if we understand the philosophy of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, we can also understand how Krishna is one, but he enjoys him too. So Krishna is the potent factor and Srimati Radha is the internal potency. According to Vedanta philosophy, there is no difference between the potent and the potency. They are identical. We cannot differentiate between one and the other, any more than we can separate fire from heat, just like it was described. You cannot, there's just some components of something that cannot be separated from this something, because if we remove it, then this something would not be what it is. So, everything in the absolute is inconceivable in relative existence. Therefore, in relative cognizance of or understanding, in our relative understanding of this material, because we have this, because we are in this material world, it is very difficult to assimilate this truth of the oneness between the potent and the potency. The philosophy of inconceivable oneness and difference propounded by Lord Chaitanya is the only source of understanding for such intricacies of transcendence. So I was mentioning that, how if we want to really understand who Radha and Krishna is, we have to understand this philosophy. And this philosophy pervades all Krishna Lilas, like whatever is outstanding, difficult to comprehend, contradictory, it can only be pacified if we understand this philosophy. Radharani is the internal potency of Krishna, and she eternally intensifies the pleasure of Shri Krishna. Impersonalists cannot understand this without the help of Mahabhagavata devotees. The very name Radha suggests that Srimati Radharani is eternally the topmost mistress of the comforts of Shri Krishna. As such, she is the medium transmitting the living entity's service to Krishna. Devotees in Vrindavan therefore seek the mercy of Srimati Radharani in order to be recognized as loving servitors of Krishna. So, Srimati Radharani is the personification of Bhakti. So, and she's the one who attracts Krishna. She's like the best in Bhakti. She knows what pleases Krishna. She knows how to please him. Krishna is controlled by her, and so on. So, if we ever want to get the attention of Krishna, then we should please Srimati Radharani and we should pray to her. And there's a nice prayer actually that we can offer to Srimati Radharani. So it is said how Krishna cannot be achieved without the mercy of Srimati Radharani. So it is her mercy that we are looking for. So and Krishna himself has said, Vina Radha prasadena mama kripa na labhyate. Without the mercy of Radharani, no one can get my mercy. So once Lord Shiva asked Lord Krishna, how can one attain you? Sri Krishna replied, a person who surrenders to me, but not to my beloved Radha, never attains me. A person who once surrenders to her and tells her, I am yours, attains me also without doing anything further. A person who desires to conquer me should surrender with all his heart to my beloved Radhika. In this way, one becomes dear to me. You should take shelter of my beloved Radha, chant my names, and always stay in my abode, Sri Vrindavan. So, yeah. So that's why the devotees, especially in Vrindavan, pray to Srimati Radharani, so that she can engage them in the service of Krishna. And Srimati Radharani is known for her soft heart. And when she sees someone who is praying to her in this way, she will just take the devotee and show it to Krishna, like, here Krishna, here is your devotee. Even this person might not have qualifications, just because of the softness of Radharani's heart. And this compassion and mercy of Radharani is very significant. And it's also very important for us, because as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took this mood of Srimati Radharani, he also took her mercy and compassion. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada says that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally approaches the fallen conditioned souls of the Iron Age to deliver the highest principle of transcendental relationship with the Lord. So the activities of Lord Chaitanya are primarily in the role of the pleasure-giving portion of his eternal potency. So how to understand this? Srimati Radharani, she understands what pleases Krishna. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. He wants to relish relationships. So she also induces others to serve Krishna so that they can establish relationship with the Lord and he can establish relationship with them. And therefore, Krishna becomes pleased. He enjoys even more. So in that sense, Lord Chaitanya is in the role of pleasure-giving portion of these activities that give pleasure to the Lord. Because that's why selfless saints who go outside into the world and who share this knowledge actually know this mystery of how to give pleasure to the Lord, because that is the way Radharani would give pleasure to the Lord. So that is how gopis and sakis would give pleasure to the Lord, by bringing others to practice Bhakti Yoga and to establish the relationship with the Lord, because then the Lord truly enjoys and then the Lord is truly happy. So in that sense, this mood of mission is actually the mood of Srimati Radharani. And then Srila Prabhupada says, the absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the omnipotent form of transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss in full. His internal potency is exhibited first as Sat, or existence, or in other words, as the portion that expands the existence function of the Lord. When the same potency displays full knowledge, it is called Chit, or Sambit, which expands the transcendental forms of the Lord. Finally, when the same potency plays as a pleasure-giving medium, it is known as Hadini, or the transcendental blissful potency. Thus, the Lord manifests his internal potency in 3 transcendental divisions. That's why we will never finish this chapter, because so many things are said here. And I mean, Srila Prabhupada, when he speaks about all these points, I have a feeling like he's thinking, okay, they have already read Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, so I don't have to explain full what this is, even though he will explain a little bit. But he wants to just say how Lord Krishna, he has 3 energies. One energy is his internal energy. That means spiritual energy. From the internal energy, the spiritual world is manifested. His devotees there, his associates there are manifested. Everything that is in the spiritual world, potency. There is external potency, which we can see in the material world. So external potency or external energy is the energy of matter, prakriti, material nature. And then there is tatashta shakti, or marginal potency, or marginal energy of the Lord, which are jivas. That means living entities. They are called marginal because they can be under the influence either of external energy or either of internal energy. So they fluctuate. So there are 3 energies. So the first energy, internal energy, is made of what is it called? 3 potencies, which are called Chit, Sambit, which means knowledge, Sat, existence, or Hadini, transcendental blissful potency. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will explain how this 3rd potency of the internal energy, which is called Hadini, is actually Radharani. She is the personification of this energy, because Hadini means pleasure-giving potency, and the person who gives the most pleasure to Lord Shri Krishna is Srimati Radharani. Therefore, she is the personification of this potency. I will go a little bit more and then I will finish. Now, to enjoy rasa, they have appeared in one body as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore I shall first delineate the position of Radha and Krishna, from that description, the glory of Lord Chaitanya will be known. So, first, what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami established in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is that Lord Krishna is non different, that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non different from Lord Krishna. And now he's starting to describe how he's not different from Krishna, but he took the mood of Radharani. So, in that sense, the God who separated in two to enjoy, again united in the personality of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, yeah. So here he says what we have mentioned in 2 verses before this one, is that Srimati Radhika is the transformation of Krishna's love. She is his internal energy called Hladini. So we said Hladini is the pleasure-giving potency. So Radharani is the personification of this Hladini. That Hladini energy gives Krishna pleasure and nourishes his devotees. And this is where we will stop. Because here, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will try to explain, he will explain how and in which way the Hladini energy nourishes his devotees. How actually, because this Hladini energy, the pleasure-giving potency, is also Bhakti, and how this Bhakti manifests in the devotees, and through whose mercy, it's usually Krishna's mercy, which comes through the devotees. And then he will talk about the expansions of Srimati Radharani, and how only an expansion of Srimati Radharani can give pleasure to Krishna. So it will get quite interesting, and especially because by knowing this, like how to give pleasure to Krishna, and if we practice this process of Bhakti Yoga, rules and regulations, and one day we, through the purification of our heart, we come to understand actually what is the real position of Krishna and Srimati Radharani, what is our position as the servant of the servant of the servant of the servants of Lord Krishna, then we know who is Lord Krishna, we will know who are his servants, and then we will understand in realization through our activities, meditation and chanting, we will understand who we really are, and then we will finally understand what is our connection with these energies and how we are actually connected with Radha and Krishna, and who are we if Krishna can be served only by the potency of Srimati Radharani. So, so for me, like this chapter is wow. It's totally philosophical, and it brings many points. It brings difficult points. So I really pray that you understood. I really pray also that I did say something meaningful to all of you, and that yeah, if you have any questions, I will check now, but probably not. But you can always send. You can send your questions, or maybe I'll see them later. You can always write your questions below the video, so then I can always answer them if you would like to know something more. Because yeah, for me this is like it's a lot to digest, and I hope somehow you could understand, because Achintya Beda Beda Tattva, this simultaneous oneness and difference philosophy, is quite difficult to understand. But if we immerse ourselves in the pastimes of Lord Krishna, if we read about Lord Krishna, and if we read how he acts, what activities he performs, in which way he has relationships with the devotees, we will understand it. Yeah, we will see how the contradictions actually can be pacified, because everything can be pacified in the personality of Krishna, because he's the supreme personality of Godhead. So anyway, thank you for your attention. So we stopped at the verse 60, and we have like 200 more verses to go. This will be very interesting, but they are very beautiful verses. And let's pray to Krishna that he gives us inspiration to understand it and explain it. Have a nice day. Haribol. Stop share and